So a few weeks ago, we took these bad boys out for their first run. We had the company of Steve Wyatt and the dogs for a pretty challenging 10 miles up on the north coast. Now, the Mont Blanc has been a pretty hyped trail running shoe, and I'd say probably one of the most hyped ultra running shoes of all times. There was lots of things that I really enjoyed out there on that first run, but I did have a few lockdown issues in the heel. Since then, I put another good 40 miles into the shoe, so let's dive into the review and find out if we got those slippage issues sorted. Welcome back, folks. I'm Lloyd Purvis and this is Run4Adventure. So today we are back with another full in-depth trail running shoe review, and if I'm honest, I'm always a bit wary when a new shoe is launched, it comes out to the marketplace and it is surrounded by lots of hype, because in the past, most of those shoes are exactly that, they're just hype. So let's give you a few facts and figures about the new Altra Mont Blanc and go into the construction in a bit more detail before we dive in and let you know how it's performed over the last few weeks. It retails in the UK for a pretty hefty £165. Weight-wise, it comes in at 289 grams in a men's UK 9.5. Being an Ultra shoe, it runs on a zero drop. So we've got a 30mm stack height under your heel and obviously a 30mm stack under your forefoot. It is available in two different colorways for men and for women, and when it comes down to sizing, I would say the shoe is sized up true to size, with obviously Ultra's foot-shaped design giving you lots of width and lots of room in the toe box. Just before we go any further in the review, let's just give you a bit of backstory about Ultra if you haven't come across the brand before. So they make road running and trail running shoes, but I would say they're best known for their trail running lineup, and they've become very popular in the US. Now, their beliefs are that we run better on a zero drop shoe, so no heel offset or no difference in heel height to forefoot height. They also give you this quite unique foot-shaped design, so allowing for lots of room in the toe box, lots of expansion room over distance, kind of trying to achieve that sort of natural feel and less likely to cause any restrictions within that upper. Right, back to the review, and Ultra claim that the Mont Blanc shoe has been designed for running super long distances on really technical terrain, so sort of races like UTMB. Now, if you haven't come across UTMB before, it is kind of the World Cup of trail ultra running. It really is an incredible race, and it starts and finishes in Chamonix, France, and you have to run 104 miles covering 10,000 meters of elevation around the Mont Blanc mountain range. It's such a spectacle. We've been very fortunate to go out there several times to run the race, but also to do a lot of filming. So if you are really into your trail running, especially mountain running, then I've left links in the description below for the videos that we've made, and I definitely recommend checking them out. So we're going to start at the top and work our way down, and the upper has been designed in a way that's to sort of keep the weight down to a bare minimum, because this shoe is kind of pitched at sort of performance and racing. So we got this very soft, plush, lightweight, breathable fabric wrapping around the toe box up to the midfoot, and then it kind of transitions into a slightly stiffer, almost transparent fabric that wraps around the heel. With it being designed for racing in mind, the upper is pretty stripped back in the padding department. So the tongue design is pretty thin. Glad to say it is gusseted in that upper to give you that sort of nice lockdown and midfoot hold. Really happy to see that Ultra have worked some padding down the center of that tongue. So just to give you the top of your foot a bit of protection when you've got those laces pulled down nice and tight. The same can be said for the back end of the shoe. So the heel is quite shallow in depth, and it is very, very soft. So there's no sort of plastic heel cup worked in there, no overlays to speak of. So like I say, very, very soft in the heel. We've got a handy little tab there to help you get in and out of the shoe nice and easy. And we've also got Ultra's Velcro gaiter attachment. Working down to the midsole, and you get a nice big helping of Ultra's Ergo Max foam. This is designed to be lightweight, responsive, and to offer a real comfortable ride over long periods of time. It looks like it's very deep, you're going to be quite high off the floor, but you're actually sunk down into that midsole. So you've kind of got a guide rail wrapping around your foot. That sits you a little bit lower in the shoe, just so you feel a bit more connected and a bit more stable when you're running in technical areas. And last but not least, we've got a pretty interesting outsole on the Mont Blanc. So you can see Altra have worked in some grooves there just to try and flex that midsole up a bit. To be honest, it is a deep midsole shoe, so it can only be so flexible. We got quite a lot of exposed foam on the outsole, and if I'm honest, I'm never a big fan of that on a trail running shoe. I'd much rather see a full rubber outsole in place, but I am always happy when I see Vibram Mega Grip on the bottom of a trail running shoe. And this is the latest variant of Mega Grip. So it's light base. So still offering you all those great sticky properties, but keeping the weight down to a bare minimum. Not the most aggressive of lug depths going on here. And there's not actually a lot of information out there about it. I've measured it. They look to be about 3 to 3.5 mil in depth. I always get a little bit worried when you've got a shallow lug on a trail running shoe, especially living here in the UK. In those wetter, muddier months, it can really let you down. But I have to say it, on that first run in the mud, it actually gave me a lot more traction than I thought it would. And since that first run, I've run it in some much boggier, muddier conditions as well, but more to come on that later. So there you have it, the new Ultra racing shoe from Altra, a few facts and figures and a few details about how it is constructed. I've put a good 50 miles into the shoe, so let's go into a bit more detail about how it has performed over the last few weeks. There's definitely been some highs, some things that I've really enjoyed, but unfortunately there is also a couple of lows, so let's get stuck in. Starting off with all the positive stuff first, and the upper has been a very comfortable place to be. So the fabric is quite soft internally, so it feels nice and plush wrapped around your foot. Obviously, having Altra's unique foot shape design, you've got loads of space and wiggle room in that toe box, so you never feel constricted by the upper at all. Even though that tongue design is quite thin, the way Altra have worked that bit of padding down the center, it gives you just enough, so it actually makes it very comfortable. Even when you've got those laces pulled down tight, they don't pull through that tongue and dig into the top of your foot. And I personally think that any new shoe you can take out the box, go and run a challenging 10 miles in and not have any issues when it comes to hot spots, blisters or comfort is always a positive thing. Cushioning wise, that Ergo Max midsole gives you a really comfortable ride underfoot. So perfect when you're pushing distance, but it's not too soft that you're going to lose all connection and stability. So I think that Altra have got that balance just right when it comes to the compound. I've actually liked all the midsoles on all the Altra shoes that I've run, and the Mont Blanc is no exception. I've been really impressed when it comes to the levels of grip and traction from the outsole. Obviously, being Vibram Mega Grip light base, super sticky compound, sticks to everything you run on. But I really wasn't sure about that shallow lug depth. It's actually performed quite a bit better than I thought it would. Don't get me wrong, I'd still like to see a couple of mil more depth on those lugs to handle the really muddy conditions, but it's performed pretty well. I actually ran the Mont Blanc on the same sections of trail that I took the Adidas Argravic to, and that's where I discovered with the Adidas shoe that it was one of the worst trail running shoes I've ever run in when it comes to traction in mud. I was literally slipping all over the place, Bambi on ice. I had to stop and walk or else I'd have just fallen flat on my face. Even though the Adidas shoe has a much deeper, more aggressive lug, the Altra shoe performed way better in those conditions. So you can see I've actually enjoyed lots of aspects when it comes to the Mont Blanc, but I think it's about time we address that elephant in the room, and that elephant is a poorly designed heel on the upper. So firstly, it's pretty shallow in design, so not a lot of depth to get your heel down into the shoe. And like we previously mentioned, there's no substance or structure or anything going on in the heel, so super soft. And when you add all those elements together, so lack of depth, lack of structure, you're left with a shoe that's pretty much impossible to lock down when it comes to the heel. I've literally tried everything I can to try and get this shoe locked down. So I've worn thicker socks, I've used the top eyelet hole there, I've used a runner's knot. Unfortunately, by using that runner's knot or the top eyelet, it just makes the shoe uncomfortable because the tongue is very short and the padding doesn't run all the way to the tongue. So if you use that top eyelet and pull them laces down tight to try and get that midfoot hold, the laces just dug straight into the top of my foot and became very uncomfortable. And even when I did all that, I still felt like I was lifting in the heel of the shoe, and I just couldn't stop that feeling. Also, when I was running some steeper, more technical descents, I actually felt like my whole foot was sliding down the upper, and I was ending a bit sort of crushed in the toe box. When you think Altra have said that this shoe has been designed to handle races like UTMB, long technical descents. You know, I've run UTMB a couple of times and I've run on those long technical descents, and I'm pretty sure this shoe wouldn't work for me on that course. Obviously, this could all be down just to my foot shape not working with this particular shoe, although I have heard on the runner's grapevine that a lot of people are suffering with similar issues. There you have it, the highs and lows of running in the new Altra Mont Blanc trail running shoe. But we've reached that point in the review where we need to get some scoring done. So hold on tight, this could be bumpy. We always start with price here at Run4Adventure, and coming in at £165, this really is an expensive trail running shoe. Now I know there'd have been a lot of money spent on development, well, maybe not in the heel, but they've spent some money on development, and it's expensive to use Vibram Mega Grip rubber on the outsole. I personally think 135, 140 max would have been a fairer price for the performance of the shoe. So because of all of that, we're going to score the Altra Trail shoe a slightly overpriced 5 out of 10. Moving on to comfort and performance, and this really is a story of two halves, because I've actually found the shoe very comfortable to run in. Really like this nice soft plush fabric around the toe box, feels very comfortable wrapped around your foot. I think Altra got the balance just right in that midsole. That Ergo Max offering a really good level of cushioning, protection, but you still feel quite responsive, quite nimble, and quite connected to the trails underfoot. And then that's kind of all done away with when we talk about this poorly designed heel that's really lacking in performance. Also, something else I haven't mentioned is a shoe that's been designed for those type of races, long distances in the mountains, running technical rocky trails. How can it have a super soft toe box? We've got no structure, no rubber bumper on there. I'm sure that was all down to keeping the weight down to a minimum, making it a light shoe, but sometimes less isn't more, and a bit of substance around that toe box would have definitely been a feature that I'd want from this shoe. So because of all that, we're going to score the Mont Blanc from Altra a disappointing 5 out of 10 when it comes to comfort and performance. Last up is the important topic of durability, and at £165, you would hope this shoe would be super solid in construction and you're going to get lots and lots of miles out of it. This has been an area in the past with some of the other Altra shoes that I've tested and reviewed. Durability, not great, and they've literally fallen apart on my feet on the first run. Happy to say, no early signs of wear with the Mont Blanc, so the upper's looking good, no early signs of stress at the flex points, we've got no overlay peel. Vibram Mega Grip rubber on the outsole tends to hold up pretty well to distance, so yeah, looking pretty solid so far. Always a tricky thing to score after only 50 miles in a shoe. So if you've got a pair of them and you've got some really good miles in them, then get in the comments below and let us know how it's holding up. But so far so good for us. So when it comes down to durability, we're going to score it a solid 8 out of 10. So totaling all those points up at Run4Adventure, the Altra Mont Blanc is going to score a overhyped, underdeveloped 18 out of 30, which for me is a real shame because I had high hopes for this shoe and I thought it might have been one of the shoes that I chose to use for the TDS at UTMB later in the year in August. Unfortunately, that definitely isn't going to be the case. As far as looks go, I actually really like the look of this shoe. I think the design and the colorways really suit it, and I'm a big fan of all the colorways that it comes in. I think it's probably one of the best looking Altra shoes there's ever been, but we all know, don't we guys, that looks isn't everything when it comes to a running shoe, and I think this really proves that case. When it comes down to comparisons, always tricky when we're talking about Altra shoes because they've obviously got that unique shape and they run off a zero drop. So other shoes from the brand that would be worth looking at, the Olympus, again another deeply cushioned trail running shoe, and maybe take a look at the new Timp 4 from Altra, which looks a really interesting trail shoe. Other brands, Topo Athletic make their trail shoes with a very similar foot shape design. but they do give you a slight heel offset if that's something that you're after. Right then, time to wrap up with a quick conclusion. And I always find it a little bit disappointing here at Run4Adventure when a review turns negative, especially when it's a shoe that's been really hyped up and you're really looking forward to it. But we're going to keep this conclusion pretty simple and straight to the point. If you're a trail runner looking for a new shoe that's going to run over long distances on a big mix of terrain and you've got 165 pounds burning a hole in your pocket, my advice would be to spend it elsewhere. I think the lack of development, lack of structure in that heel is going to make it hard for this shoe to lock down on anybody's foot shape. So yeah, maybe spending your money elsewhere would be a better option. So that is a wrap on another trail running shoe review here at the channel. Really hope you enjoyed it, guys. Really hope you found it helpful, even though it was slightly disappointing. We've got some great content heading your way, and we just recently uploaded our first impressions on Hoka's new Speedgoat 5. A deeply cushioned trail running shoe, not a million miles away from the Altra Mont Blanc, and maybe that will be a better shoe for me to run TDS in later in the year. We've also got a couple of exciting announcements to make. One of them might have something to do with a really cool looking, very exciting new Run4Adventure running cap heading your way soon. So definitely keep your eyes open for that one. But until next time, guys, thanks for watching, thanks for supporting, it's always appreciated. We will see you back here very soon, and as always, stay safe and keep on running. We're going to score it, that's what we're going to score it. No, we're not, no. We're going to give it more than a but only a little bit more.